Hello, I'll be with you in a few minutes. I'm having a few issues. I've got no staff and the roof has leaked and it's got more leaks than it's ever had before. It's all over the counter, so I've got to quickly mop it up. So I'll be back in a minute and try and stem the leak, because otherwise everything's going to be ruined. So I'll be back as quickly as I can, sorry. I think I'm back, but for how long I can't say. Oh, for God's sake. Right. So hopefully you've drawn everything out. You've got a few minutes anyway. So you can see the colours are on there: ultramarine, crimson, I've got carmine, cadmium yellow, burnt sienna and white. So I'll give you a bit more of a chance. I probably will end up covering most of what I've drawn, to be honest, but I've put it there just so it's there. Hello, Nick. Yeah, don't ask. Don't ask. It's getting me down now. So I'll give you till about just about 10 past quarter past if you sketched, but as usual, if you could say drawn, then at least I know that you've drawn. Thank you. Well, unless you're a roofer and you can fix £3,000 worth of roof for free, there's not a lot anybody can do, unfortunately. There's more leaks than there's ever been, and because it's getting older, and I'm trying to repair it, and I'm not a roofer, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. It's roof felt, but the roofers that put it on 6 years ago basically didn't key it into the walls, so they just glued it up to the side of the walls. The other roof that they didn't touch is at least 50 years old, and it's old corrugated sheeting or something, and it's cracked. And I've tried sealing that because you can't stand on it, but I've tried sealing that because all the areas where the roof is fixed, it's actually running underneath the cracks of the corrugated roof and then still coming into my shop. Obviously the roof is now getting older and older, and it's going to be less able to take my weight or anybody's weight to repair it soon, because the leaks are everywhere. It's all over the counter. The skylights both leak. Where it's sealed around the walls leak, but the trouble is, because it's water, you can't tell where it's actually coming in from, because where it's leaking doesn't mean that that's the entry point, you know. It's just where it found it, and it's not a flat roof. It is slightly sloping. It's pitched in two areas, a gentle pitch, but the guttering's all leaked. That hasn't been repaired on the third floor, the second floor, and that's adding even more water onto the roof, so it's adding pressure to it. I was up there the other day clearing all of the foliage out of the drains. So it's been it's really stressful. I wouldn't say easily. You have to go through the bathroom window, climb the sink and get into the bathroom window, because the skylights aren't really big enough for people to go through. So yeah, you have to climb through the bathroom window on the classroom floor, and then do what you've got to do. But it's really hard to do what you've got to do when you haven't got a clue what you're supposed to do, and you've got no money for it. It's possible. The issue is, it's because it's running off all the guttering, because the guttering is all ancient, so that's all leaking. So, but there's guttering right near the roof, and then there's the guttering on the second floor as well. So I have thought about that, but because it's literally 2 inches of plywood as my roof, any noise, so the rain on the tarpaulin would be quite deafening in the shop. But yeah, I think that I'm gonna have to do something like that because I'm really fed up of it. It's always leaked, and I knew it leaked when I took it on. However, not this much and not this consistently. I mean, the floor behind the counter is soaking wet. I've got leaks all down the side of the counter, all along the front and above the counter, behind the counter, and down several walls now. And I can't stem it. I've got no staff. I don't know when Jackie's due in. Sandra's not back until July. I've got no time. I've got no money, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And my temper is now frayed. Oh, thank you. It's really hard because I've used so many different things to try and patch it up, but even that patching is now years old, and it's so hard to identify where it's coming from. So it's really frustrating. Right, so we'll do we'll do it in sections. It's nice to have 6 of you with me. Oh, hello, Sarah. So I've got the camera on my phone as well, so the one that I've got Discord on, so I don't really know who's here. Right, I'm going to use a small flat brush because I'm just going to do that little bit of sky. However, once I've done that, I will be blocking in this whole area. So I'm just going to go with a little bit of white. So I'm using, what's this one, 1/2 inch? Maybe. The numbers on these don't match normal numbers. Yeah, it's number 12 in the yellow, but it's probably about 1/2 inch. I don't know, really. I've never known. It's funny. I mean, I know they're not expensive brushes, but it's weird how their brushes don't. But you see, you've got a 3/4, so I reckon that is a 1/2. Oh, is it? Oh, okay. That makes sense. A little bit of ultramarine. No, I haven't got a clue. No idea. White, and I've just added a tiny bit of ultramarine. I want it a fairly loose, light colour. Oh, thank God you're here. I've just sent you like 30 messages.
Oh, okay.
I've had to turn people away because the shop's all flooded all over the counter. I was late for the class.
Okay.
The floor's soaking wet behind there, so just do what you can. But it was somebody that wanted just to browse, and I said I'm not open for browsers. Yeah. I can't serve you at the moment. Go to the website and see what we've got. Right, so a little bit of ultramarine, just so it's a soft. I've done what I can, but it could have leaked again since then because all the skylights have gone. The whole of the skylight has gone. All the ceiling around it.
Okay.
No, it's not the landlord's responsibility, sadly, because it was done after the lease was taken on.
Right.
So it's a very tricky area. Thank you. It's a very grey area. But because I'm only subletting, and I sublet without a lease, because that's the clause, if I am allowed to, because I'm allowed to sublet through Kathy, I'm not allowed to have a lease, so I've got no contract. So it's such a grey area, and I could spend a lot of money fixing it, but then if Kathy ever packs up and leaves, then I've got to find somewhere anyway. So it's tricky, but anyway. Oh, thank you. You see, the trouble is, you can only tell, you only know where it leaks when it rains. You know, so no, absolutely, because it is slightly pitched. It's a problem, and I've sealed around the skylight so many times, but even some of the seal on the skylight where the canvases are, it drips through the handle, and I've sealed around the handle, and I don't even open that skylight now. It's not functioning because, but it still leaks through it. So I don't know. I don't know. Right, so while that's drying, I'm going to go with a bigger brush and mix up a dark purple from ultramarine, bit of crimson, and a bit of burnt sienna. So it's sort of like a purpley, blacky, grey colour, and everything is going to go on here. I would, in other lives, I would use black, and Louise identified that today, that I have done pictures like this where I've just used black. But since I'm into sort of purpley shadows, and this is all about the shadow, I'm going to cover this. Yeah, so ultramarine, a bit of crimson, and a little bit of burnt sienna. The burnt sienna just helps tone things down and make things a little darker. Now you could just shove it on, you could stipple it on, but you see the reason why I'm using the purple, I'll stipple it on, might as well. The reason why I'm using purple today is because the blue will be present in the purple for the lavender, and it will also be present in the green bits that are on there. So we need to make sure this really dries before we do anything else, but it should be a good shadow colour. Go a bit darker towards the foreground. I know I haven't mixed enough. Fortunately I've got similar colour, but if it goes a bit darker towards the front, then that's fine. I haven't got enough paint out. Normally during these lessons I have far too much paint. Today I do not. Yeah, makes sense. I've gone a bit more blue, and I know, you see the way I paint, it looks like I use a lot of paint, but actually I don't use much. So this is a bit more ultramarine burnt sienna-ish to the foreground, and that needs to dry. I'm not going to get the hairdryer on it now. I'll nip down and just check on the shop floor, because Jackie won't be able to reach the leaks anyway, bless her, because she's only tiny. She's going up there. See, those furrows that I've drawn in have totally gone now. I don't know why I bothered, but I thought I'd do them. They did look nice while they're there, and they'll be back in some form. Is it alright? Good.
Right.
But this will take forever to dry. Normally things dry really quickly, don't they? Apart from when you want them to dry quickly. But I'm not hairdrying it. We've got loads of time. It's only 20 past 10. I will be using a fan brush. I have got fan brushes now on Shop Happy. If any of you need to get any. I know, that's why I stabbed it. I think it's... oh, you know, I was just going to say, that's why I think it's working. Except for that big area there that isn't. This is my fingers. I'm lifting it off now. That'll have to do. Going to be shadow anyway. You never know, I might be doing a crowdfunder to fix our roof soon. No, I'm going to get the hair drying. This is actually the Cotswold lavender fields in Broadway, Worcestershire, so they're sort of localish, really. I've only hair dried it so I can lean. I thought she painted it before lockdown. Sue Lockett. Who? It just needs to be dark. Yeah, wait for it to dry though, because you end up lifting it off, won't you? You can't mass print PDF files. Go into that.
Okay, that's just very...
Top. Because that's all I'm going to have to be able to do. What we need to get into a system to do is once it goes through, is it goes in the diary. And I did try doing that on my own 12 weeks ago, but I can't do it. That's dryish. In fact, if I use a smaller flat, no, I don't want that one. Smaller flat brush. What's this one? A number six. If I add a little bit of white to this bluey purple, I can get the sort of mountainy hill things in at the same time. So it's soft, so it's purple themed. We're doing a lavender field, so it's about right that we should do a purple theme. But as this is art for the anxious, obviously, Don't get anxious. So sort of soft purple in the background. Nick suggested that we stretch a big tarpaulin over the whole roof area, but I said it would just go underneath, wouldn't it? I did think that because of the layout of the roof is really weird. No, I don't know. I don't know if the camera is bleaching out because it's so purple. Let me see if that has helped. Yeah, and it's I've just put the light on to try and balance the colours out. Right, there you should be able to see it in about 10 seconds, or maybe longer. It's different on my screen. I've put my lamp on, and I've fiddled with the angle, so you should see now. Yeah, yeah, there we go. Da, 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 da. So it's this same colour, and I've missed off a huge chunk now. I've got the light on. Don't forget you can always add a bit more white over the top if it is. I mean, it is almost non-existent in the photograph, isn't it? It's sort of very soft. But I don't want it too soft that I lose the sky. Or it merges into the sky, rather. I want it to have a little bit of staying power. I replied to the guy who messaged on Tuesday about the rotoring.
I didn't know that.
Well, no, nor did I. I spent about an hour googling it all. They're not. It's obsolete, that make. Well, they replaced it with the rotoring Tiki graphic, which is also not refillable, and we can't get those in. We can only get the isograph and rapidograph in, but at least he's armed with a bit more information now. I heard somebody, what today? How old is she? 100? Yeah, sad. Yeah, somebody messaged me on my Bo Norton page to say that they just spotted my We'll Meet Again video, and they while they were watching it, they heard on the radio that Vera Lynn had died, so that's sad. I know, you know, it'll be like riding a bike, Phil, so don't worry. I thought I hadn't seen you pop up for a while. It's nice to see you. But yeah, it is tricky. How much paint, how much water, you've got to relearn all of that again.
They were just predicting pictures around it. Poor guy. It's not at all celebrating. Just let it go. twiddling. Just trying to get forward, aren't we?
Yeah. Right, so I'm going to go with a little bit of yellow with a little bit of burnt sienna and white, because we're going to build it up from the back. Not too much water with it. So it's going to go a sort of mushroom, a dark mushroom colour, like the underside, the gills of a mushroom. And that's just for a tiny little bit of, oh that's too dark, tiny little bit of a field. Yeah, this is the number 6 flat. I don't know why, I tend to whisper when I do small strokes and I'm louder when I do big strokes. It's like tiny little strokes. A big broad stroke. Is that from my primary days, do you think? I think it is. Yes. Yeah, I'm terrible at that. If I play racing games, my whole body, I'm exhausted at the end because I'm throwing myself around as if I'm there. But there is a tiny bit of yellow, but not much. And then oh, it should go further up. I'm going to go right the way up the end, I think. But we will put trees and things on there, but we'll block it all in and then. Severe weather warning for rain from 11 o'clock. That's going to be fun then, isn't it? Yeah, judging from my counter, it did. Yeah, my buckets in the skylight area. I've got little tubs. They were all overflowing, which is what was the problem this morning. And then, but I can't work it. A part of me just wants to just close the door and run away. I don't want to run away from myself. I just want to run away from the stress. You know what it does? I can't see today. I haven't got my glasses on and I'm staring into a light bulb, so it does go right away across to that second house. But quite thin. You didn't get any paper.
What do I want to write down? I can get it from, I think the works is open.
No.
No.
Wilkinson is the only place that will do it.
You can go for it.
I can't believe Ryman's not open.
I think they're online, but you need it now and you can't get it.
No, well I've only got half a ream left. And I want to print off some of the new July to December booklets.
I don't know if it's going to happen. If it does, then that's a very easy shopping experience.
Well, but not if you're in town and you need it now. If I run out of paper in the next half an hour, then going to Waitrose is not an option. Right, so I'm going with this sort of 1/2 inch flat next to do yellow, tiny weeny bit of blue, and a little bit of white. We don't want much detail in this background. And we're putting trees and things on here, so. And it's good if you don't mix your colours thoroughly, because what that will do is it will give you a wider variety of tone. And it does go into sort of a bit more of a greeny section right on the right hand side, so I'll just add a bit more blue into that. That actually doesn't look green at all. It looks more yellow on my canvas than it actually is, which is really weird. Even in my eyes it's looking more yellow than green. That's really bizarre. Might have to dirty it up a little bit. Yeah, I know. It's not though. I'm gonna add a little bit more green, a bit more blue into it. It's a little bit too yellow. But on my palette, I'd mixed up a sort of yellow green, and then as soon as it went on the canvas, I'll tell you, I will explain why. It looks a lot more yellow on my picture than it does on my palette. It's because yellow and purple are complementary colours. So when you surround a colour, so if you've had video number 3 from me on complementary colours, you'll see that yellow and purple are complementary. So when they surround with each other, they make each other vibrant and a lot more punchy. So I think that's what that is. It was green, but where it's now surrounded by purple on both sides, it looks a little bit more yellow. So there's a nice lesson on colour theory. See, even though I've dulled it down, it still looks yellow, but it's not, I promise. So I think if we can get to a point where we can get the trees on, then we'll do a coffee break. Then we'll do the little houses, the little cottages, and that kind of thing, and then we'll work on the foreground. Fan brush would be better. Hog bristle fan brush for that, but we'll see if we can work around it. If not. Jackie, can you go in that green bag and let me line ultramarine, please?
Yes.
Because I've really not put out enough of that.
I'm loving the colour.
That needs to dry a little bit, although it is just blocking in, so that's okay. Because the trees and that, I'm going to be using sort of like a really small round brush and a dark green. So that's a lot of blue with a little bit of the yellow. I might stipple a bit more yellow on afterwards, but we'll see how we go. So it's not runny, but it's just sort of enough to be a little bit fluid. And it basically just drags and blobs, it's not even, especially as we get further back. That must be a massive tree that's sort of towards the right of the second house. Oh, my big head's in the way. Hang on, there you go. Just move it. So it's like a dark, yeah, it's very blue-green. Because don't forget, obviously, the things that are further away are going to be more blue anyway. But a nice dark green, lighter taps where it breaches the horizon line. So it just gives us that little idea. I would prefer a flatter bottom on my trees. And I'm going to do that right the way across, but I'm going to undulate the colours a little bit so it's not just one line. It's hard when you're doing background trees like this because you want it to look fairly natural, but equally you don't want to do too much detail because it's far away. And the more detail you put into it, the more it will make it feel closer. And it's just more work for us then to try and improve on it somewhat. Let's do a few little blobs of trees along this line here. I'm going to do more than there in the photograph. And while I've got this lovely dark green, I'm going to use it for the foreground ones. Because there's sort of another layer of trees in front of it towards the middle, so it makes sense to do it lighter. And there's that bush as well, isn't there? I think there's more buildings in there than I can see really, and I'm not going to put them in. I'd rather have trees. Oh, I'll just block all of this in and then I can lighten it afterwards. It just saves a lot of time and hassle. Gosh, there is a massive delay. I can't believe how long the delay is. Oh God, it's about 2 minutes delay today. So I'm definitely coming to you on Facebook from the future. I bet you've been busy at work, haven't you, Phil? Well, yeah, I guess as people have got a bit more freedom that they're not fully dependent on online food deliveries, maybe. Right, so while all of that's drying, I'm going to go and make a drink, and then we'll work on the cottages, a bit of the foliage in the foreground, and then all of the lavender fields in the next hour. So that's good. Right, I'll be back in a bit. And I've now got no sanitizer because of that delivery that never turned up.
this one. Just shut that again so I can remove some bits in it. Huh?
No, but you want stuff anyway.
Or do you want me to go mix some crystal biscuits? Okay, I'll do that. I'll be back in a minute.
What do you think about this?
Be brave, my little soul. Oh yeah, very good.
I don't know how I can be that person. Because if I have two tables that I can actually, it's not wide enough.
No, just triple it.
I could screw the spoon into here. Into the table.
I'm worried that I told you what I had envisaged there. Just very worried.
Just check the counter on your way round.
What am I checking? I'm not going to tell you about it, but I will.
Well,
Okay.
you have to tell me about it because I have to do it straight away because otherwise we'll lose all of our customer orders.
Okay.
And you're not tall enough to reach it by yourself, so that's how I know.
Okay. No, I'm not tall enough to reach anything. I'm useless.
Right, I'm back with a cup of tea. But Jackie's gone out for biscuits because we have no biscuits. And you all know I cannot function without biscuits. I'm quite easy to please, really. Just give me biscuits. I think this photograph was taken yesterday or something. It was very recently. Because I follow them on Instagram, and it's funny, as I was lying in bed scrolling through Instagram, I saw this lavender field pop up, and I thought, oh, do you know what? This would be perfect. So we'll work on the houses next, I think. No, yes. Yes, I think so. I'm presuming you're all back from making your drinks. heard somebody downstairs. Hang on a minute. Oh right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'll be going with a cup of tea. I haven't even had a cup of tea yet. Oh, if you've got any of your purple colour left, or maybe even a bit of ultramarine and burnt sienna with a tiny bit of burnt sienna, not that much that I'll put in, and white, we'll do the shadow of the houses, because they're not white, they are a blue-grey. And there's a little bit there, a little bit there, and there, and there. The light is actually coming from the left in this picture. You may have worked that out, I don't know, because I've only just noticed it. So I'll do a little bit lighter, a bit white, just on that bit there. And the roof of all of them, actually, the roofs are going to be burnt sienna with a bit of ultramarine, so quite dark. Dark brown. If you've got burnt umber, you could use burnt umber. It doesn't really matter. I'm just making this fluid enough. It's the thing, isn't it? Obviously, when we're painting lavender fields, but to paint the lavender fields, you've got to paint around, you know, the environment around the lavender fields. But I did pick one with hardly any environment. Just to give us an idea. Oh, the bird song's finished. That's why it's quiet. I need a bit of bird song on a really horrible day, like today. Indicate the chimneys. Yeah, you need your paint fluid for the roof, so it will give shape and get a bit pointy for you. If in doubt, we'll just wallop even more lavender. We'll make the lavender taller if it hasn't worked as nicely as you want it to. But it just sort of sets the scene, and it gives us a bit of depth, because we know if I make that a little bit more bluey, I can put the windows in. And we know that if this is a 2-storey house, roughly how tall it is. we have any shop happy orders been processed?
I'm thinking I just can't remember how to do it. I can get into it, but I can't remember.
Will you just scroll down? Once you log in. But what? Show me your page.
I've got this of PDFs and then Silk Browser.
Silk browser. It's the only thing on the Silk browser. So it'll say log in. It's never, for 12 weeks it's been on the browser.
Okay, it's in the history, so I found it. Okay.
So log on
I've finished.
and then scroll down. But you're better off on the landscape rather than portrait. So we do some lighter green foliage now with the blue and the yellow, with a bit more yellow, and I'll probably add a tiny bit of white to it. Well, that's a bit too yellow. Let's go for a bit of blue. Then it'll be too blue, won't it? It's always the way. So I've moved my palette off the screen as well. Oh, I think that's still going to be. It's going to be too yellow. Basically, I don't want a green that's too close to the field colour. Otherwise, it will just look like that row of trees are hovering. And we don't want hovery trees, do we? Nobody likes a hovering tree. I might darken these a little. Once it's on, it's easier to darken it. Because I can stick it where I like it then. It's just to give us a few layers and a bit of texture, really. You could use some of that lighter green to highlight a few of the trees and bushes in the foreground if you wanted to, just to make it feel like the sun is shining. It's a lovely day. And mix it up with a few darker bits just to, again, if you don't clean your brush thoroughly or mix your colours thoroughly, it gives you a much more realistic layer. They're invented, yeah. Were you not wearing them before? You've gone through 12 weeks without wearing them.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So just letting that dry, and then we're going to mix up our lavender. Oh, you think? Oh yes, we will. Oh, do we do any green? Maybe a bit of green and a bit of lavender. But I've got this old fan brush here. Old faithful fan brush. I wonder how low. Whenever I look at photography like this, I always wonder how low the photographer had to squat to get this feeling of depth. I find it fascinating, thinking about how the photographs are created. How's it looking, Nick? Oh, you're all very quiet today. Oh, well, that's why I couldn't hear you if you were on mute. No. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you see, I haven't put any of those in, and I'm thinking of doing it. I think I will do it. Well, I'm glad you're concentrating, Phil. I am. Right, I think I might do the furrows because I don't want to feel left out. Let me use a detailed brush and use some runny dark green. Make it like a watery. This is a 3-0 that I nicked from downstairs yesterday. I mean, I've paid for it. I think I've paid for it. I can't remember who. It depends what mood I'm in, Nick. I possibly could give myself a citizen's arrest for stealing from my own shop. Yeah. Excuse me, sir. Have you paid for these goods? Actually, yes, I have. I have paid for these goods. Or I will when the invoice is due. Okay. I've got so many gaps in my canvas that because it's quite dull outside, I've not really seen. But I haven't got my glasses on either, so that's possibly another issue. Because I look like Geppetto. Ooh. You added it? Right, I'm just saying. Oh yeah, that's nice. You've got way more detail than I have. Oh, it's nice that, Nick. Good, isn't it, Sarah? How are you getting on with it? Okay. Like that. You put a poll in here. I have to copy you now, Nick. I can't be outdone, you know. There was that Monday, do you remember, Louise? That Monday where we did the flower meadow and you did those lovely poppies and that butterfly, and then I had to go and do more poppies. And the dragonfly. Yeah. I love it when you do good things, but it does make me have to work harder. So it keeps me on my toes. Okay. So I think if we make a start on our I don't know why I didn't use this finer brush before, because it makes so much more sense. Anybody would think this is a revelation to me, to use a fine brush for detail. I never thought of that before. I'm just fiddling. I'm not being a just adder. I am just trying to improve what I'm doing. This isn't I'll just adder. It's just I need to adder. Maybe that's his brother. Must adder. Yeah. Oh, I just want to darken the right hand side of the buildings a little bit more to show that the light is coming from. It's not much dark. The barn. It's a bit boring, isn't it? It's very industrial. No. I mean, I've done it in grey, but maybe if I put something like that in, let me make it into a proper little barn. Ultramarine and burnt sienna. Dark colour. And then I promise we will start on the fields now. Oh, I like it now I've put a door in it. I put a massive barn door in it. It sort of makes it a little bit less. I didn't like, you know, when I was sketching this out, I did actually think, I don't like that building, and I don't like lots of buildings, but it does add an extra something on the one side, so I thought I will put it in. But it's not until you start painting it that you think, actually I could just tweak this a little bit, or I'll just change this a little bit. Okay, so now we'll start to add a bit of the greens on. With our bouncy fan. As I say, we've got them on Shop Happy now. Fan brushes. So that is good. This is old. I mean, oh yes. You see, I'm really quite. I don't know, with my plate mixes, I've still got half a plate left. But I'm going to go over on that. Oh, it's got my brush caught in my headphones. Just wet my brush a little bit, and I'm going to go on to the yellow and a little bit of blue. But still darker than the green fields. And I'm just going to look at where I can put these, to be honest, because so this is fan brush, and it's cadmium yellow and a little bit of ultramarine. But what I'm doing with it is I'm trying to be a bit sparing with it where the lavender actually is. If I start trying to create the... So once you get your fan brush, really you know, if you haven't got one and you're gonna purchase one, abuse it, because the more it's abused, the better it works. Yeah, you want it. Yeah, well, you can always add a bit more yellow to it over the top, but you want a sort of lighter green. It's interesting that now I haven't drawn these furrows on, I haven't got a clue where I'm sticking it. Mix a little bit more. You need a really loaded fan brush for this. You could use it with a flat brush. Yeah, any old brush will work as well, but the fan brush is quite useful. Good.
Any brush will do.
Well, you see, now you've found me. I'll get you spending. Oh, what, the double hole ones? Yeah, they're not bad for 60p. Well, that's it. It keeps me in baked beans. Yeah, you don't really want it that solid. You want it split a little bit. Just a little bit. Right, so I've got my furrows sort of in situ, so I need that to dry a little. I could make a darker green with a bit more blue, and that will just sort of create a little bit more interest, especially as it gets down into where the furrowy bits are. So then it doesn't just look like you've got blue, purple stripes and green stripes. And then when we add the lavender, it should look a little bit better. It's scary, isn't it? And it is scary because we're painting lavender fields, and you might be really happy with what you've created now, and then you've got the added fear of what if it all goes wrong. And I do apologise if you haven't thought about this until I've just reminded you. But it's how I feel a lot of the time, where I'm doing it and I think, right, so this is the main thing. What if I cock up now? While that's drying, I just want to use a slightly darker green to fiddle with the bushes and things on the back, just to neaten it up. So this afternoon's class is watercolours, and it's the sunset over the Dolomites. So that you all did such a lovely job that I've seen. One day I need to put them all into their categories. I feel I could sleep for England today. I'm so tired. I don't know if it's hay fever or what. Or whether it's just my body not used to doing all the hours that I've been doing this week. Had a bit of a break. Well, yeah, I mean, I did 14 hours Monday, 14 hours Tuesday. I was here till 7 last night. I shouldn't have been, but I got stuck on a phone call. So today when I leave here I've got my class at 4:30, then I'll quickly lock up and what have you, and then drop a few deliveries off, and then go straight home. I've got leftover bolognese from last night, so I've already got my food sorted. Yeah, it's what more yellow in your green. Yeah, it makes it feel like the sun's out, you see. It does make it feel we've got a bit more of a glow, and it just helps with the furrows a little bit. It's a nice picture though, isn't it? I think it's got a lovely composition to it. Just waiting for that to dry a little bit, but it's only 22, so that is good. You are doing well. Nearly dry. Or is it dry? No, that bit that I've just poked it in. That's alright. So, I'm going to do a slightly bluey lavender that's a little bit lighter than the first colour that we put on. Let me move my plate out the way. Because there's a delay, I'm going to have to switch to the broadcasting thing, so I know I've got my plate in the right place. Maybe a little bit of white in there. So let me bounce my clumps. So you want to remember that these lavender tends to grow in an arc. So just make sure that actually this is darker than the colour I've put on. You can't even see that I've put this on. That was a bit of a waste of time. Let's make a slightly lighter colour then. The carmine is quite opaque, transparent, so let me add a little bit of white to that. That will help. Ooh, nice colour. Yeah, ultramarine, a little bit of carmine or crimson or what have you. Do you know what? And I'd never really thought about this before. You know, I've got sort of issues with the words warm and cool in terms of colour. ultramarine is purple based blue, and it's a warm blue, whereas crimson is a purple based red, but it's a cool red. So you can see how people get confused, can't you? So it's better off just, I think, calling it purple red, purple blue, or orange red, and I think that's just a little bit easier. But it is. I need more white in this and more. Jackie, can you pass me the carmine as well, please?
Yeah.
I thought I'd got bucket loads here, but I ain't. I ain't got enough colour. Thank you.
Do you have the drawing sets as a passport?
What drawing sets?
Over shop happening. Like if someone clicked and collects it, they just picked up or
Which drawing sets then? Do you mean the Caran d'Ache ones? Or as a... I think there is a drawing set online which I think it's like it's a sea white pad and the graphic watercolour. No, not now. I had a few made up. So I'm doing a light bounce. With more of a pinky purple, and I'll go in with more of the carmine on the one side later on. When I say later, I mean almost in a minute. Because we don't really have much in terms of later. It's not like I can say, join me tomorrow. I'll be adding some pink. Maybe I should start doing that. Have some, yeah. With Great Borton, we used to do, I'm adding a bit more of the carmine with a bit of white, just on its own. With Great Borton, we used to do lessons over, if they were tricky, we'd do it over 2 weeks. But what we found was that if somebody couldn't make 1 week, then we'd lose them for both weeks. So it doesn't really, for the way we teach, because there are plenty of places you can do courses, but people tend to like what we do because we do it all in one go, and you can just go home with a painting or a nearly completed painting, but at least now you can fiddle even when you get back home, can't you now, because you can watch it back and go, well, where did he stick that colour? What's he doing now? Although I think so this is I've moved it across, so this is just the crimson colour and white, a little bit of white, but I didn't really clean my brush, so there's a bit of purple on my brush, and then there's that little bit there, but you want to keep some of your darks, and I might even go more whitey coloured in a bit with this. I don't know if I would, yeah, I need much more contrast. I might have to put with a bit more detail in with the dark purples to make it work better. So if I had a little bit more white, I found what the set is. I'm fairly sure it's the blue colour soft stapled sea white book, Putty Ripper. The Derwent Graphics tin of 6 and the pencil sharpener, I think. No, it's got pencil sharpener in it, so it's just the Putty Ripper. The blue stapled A4. Have a look. It is on Shop Happy somewhere. Yeah, I got a few. I've got A4 and A3. Yeah, and the pencil sharpener, don't forget. I'll try and remember, and I'll remind Jackie, because Jackie's here till 2 today. So I'll say, if Nick comes in, just don't let him leave without a pencil sharpener. See, I've lost my dark purples now for some reason, so I might go in with a fiddlier brush. This is quite a nice one, this number 1. It's almost like a rigger, but it's not a rigger. It's just a bit longer. I'm enjoying this. It's helping me unwind from an extremely stressful morning. Nothing like walking into a shop and seeing it almost underwater to stress you out when you're a stress head anyway. No, I mean, as if I've not got enough to worry about at the minute. It's like, what now? What now are you throwing my way? So this is dark purple. I haven't added any brown to it, but you can see I'm always on about contrast, and for me it's really important to do a painting and then squint at it and see. As I say, I'm really fortunate teaching these classes because I can see my screen, which looks like it's the equivalent of you taking a photograph of your painting and seeing what it looks like. So I'm really fortunate in that I can go, that's not dark enough, or that's too dark, or I need it lighter there. It's all about balance. And I think that's, honestly, I really think that's the biggest thing that makes the difference between a sort of amateur painter and someone that kind of starts to know what they're doing. It's about contrast. And, if you look at both sides of this now, you can really see that this dark purple that is quite runny that I'm putting in is just bringing this out. It's making it pop. And if I do a few little blobby bits and flicky down bits within here, that's your technical terminology today. Blobby bits and flicky downy bits. So it's almost blue. And I can sort of create the curvature of the lavender, but it does make a difference. I know some of you will take photographs of your work as not just as an aid memoir for your progress, but as a way to see what your picture looks like. Because I'm seeing it much smaller on a screen, I sort of don't need to do that, thankfully, when I'm teaching. But when I'm painting, I do have to do that a lot. Mix up a bit more of this purple. So it's a lot of blue, tiny bit of crimson. Some crimsons are a lot stronger than others. The carmine in this abstract acrylic is very transparent. So if you want something that's more carmine based, you do have to be aware that you need to add a lot more of that compared to other colours. I'm just adding this darker purple hither and thither, but mainly on the darks sides to make the furrows feel like they're really raised, really, or dented. So we're creating the lighter part of the furrow by darkening behind it. It's a very basic technique, but it's sort of, because we have to go darker. And those of you that go to my drawing classes or anything will know that go darker is one of my stock phrases, because we don't go dark enough. We really don't. Because it's scary to go dark. But in acrylics. Yeah, oh, are you drinking out of that this morning? Oh, well, there you go. I have got mugs available that say go darker. £5. Let me know if you want one. You were using the not paint water one the other day, Nick, were you? Were you using not paint water the other day? The joy of lavender is that there are so many different varieties. It's quite good because you can. We're not going to make it look exactly like a genre or a make of make. It is genre species of lavender. So it could be the French lavender, and the lavender fields all have different types. So even in one lavender field, you'll have rows of different lavenders. So this is quite inky, quite fluid. And then as I go into the mounds of lavender, I'm flicking up or down, and that really helps cast a shadow. You see, I thought the purple was dark enough that I put on there, but clearly it wasn't. And by going darker, you see, the darker your darks are, the brighter your brights look. Oh, good, Phil. Phil's drinking out of his too. But as you're adding these kind of things, the more difficult part is actually trying to be random. And I know we talk about random a lot because it's just so important to be random. So hard, so hard. So right in the middle of the foreground, which sounds, it's already 12 o'clock. Time's just flowing by, but I have been a bit slack because I've got so many other things to deal with. One of those days, you know. Again. So I might make some brighter greens and purples just in the foreground to make it feel a bit of depth, because obviously we use I've used the fan brush for all of this, which is fine. However, in the foreground there is naturally going to be more definition, isn't there, because it's closer to us, so we can see it. And some of you are getting really good with your acrylics over this. Oh yeah, I'll have a look. Okay, let me have a look. Right, so you just want brighter colour. Are you using ultra warm blue and cool red? So you're going to want you've got your darks. I think you need to make it almost more of the cool red and white on yours, Sarah, to make it quite pinky. Because if you look at the image, it is quite pink, isn't it? The purple. I would even make mine even more pink. Oh, that's coming on, Nick. That does feel like a mound, doesn't it? Yeah. You see, if you have a squiz at Nick's, Sarah, you'll see that the pink on his punches it out a little bit, you know. But I love your background. Your background's great. I think what it is the try and get that curvature of your mound now. But we're going to be doing a few more fiddly bits. I think we've got about 10, 15 minutes worth of lesson. So if I make a light green with a little bit of white in, I'm going to do a few little longer lines, quite dilute, that aren't fan brushy, and hopefully what that will do is it will start to make us feel like we're looking across an actual field, because we're adding more of the detail in the foreground. do some pinky little bits on here. But it's certainly one that I actually don't think, in terms of the foreground, you can ruin with the just adder. I think it's one that you could definitely spend more time on, even doing lighter greens, darker greens, especially in the foreground, where you're trying to create the height of the lavender. I might use some darker green in here. I don't know, it's a bit long. See, part of me is thinking, to make it feel like the sun is hitting it, there's more of an orangey pink, isn't it? So I'm going to experiment for a sec.
Part of you thinking.
Thank you. Yes, I am. Only part of me is thinking. Only part of me ever thinks. Celebratory when the whole of me thinks.
Yeah.
A little bit of yellow. A little bit of... Oh, you see, that's a bit of a horrible colour. That's only part of me is thinking. All of me was thinking, I'd go, no, don't use that. You imbecile. I've been called an imbecile by one of my YouTube trolls, so maybe they were right. So I'm going a bit more dotty. Actually, that's not bad. I've added a tiny bit of yellow, some of the red, and a lot of white. And if I do some dotty dabby bits, some of the lavender that's in the foreground. Oh gosh, I'd forgotten all about that. Yes, please, and the materials.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Thank you. Yeah, I can normally do it before 10 o'clock.
I know they're raining at me, so
Are they?
I've got to do it for you around here since that's your nail that's done. Why do you feel like this?
Well, quiet. That's why I've been struggling for 12 weeks. I like this colour. It's kind of like a coral. It's a little bit lighter than all the other colours, so it's got that little bit of a glow on it. Have I made enough? Of course I haven't. Will I make some more the same colour? Of course I won't. Am I going to try anyway? Yes. This feels a lot more three-dimensional now. I'm sort of concentrating on the foreground area. Because these classes, don't forget, they can go up until 12:30. Mostly they don't. But I have had to take more breaks than I normally would. To deal with the varying issues.
What? Just one message.
Yeah, it comes through about 7 times. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll come through on your Pages Manager app, and it'll come through on your Facebook app. So it doubles up every time somebody sends a message. Because not everybody has the Manager's app. I am more pleased with this now. I didn't hate it before, but now I've got that coral colour on. I am feeling a little bit happier with the colour. I still need to meet. A little bit more. I've changed our message on Facebook, you might have noticed. You are. This is 3 acrylic paintings in a row, Nick, that you've said you're quite happy with yours. Have you peaked? You're on a plateau. It's a thing though with painting. It is a peaks and troughs thing. Because, you know, and I've said this so many times, that you can't expect creativity to always be present at 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning. It just won't do it. And it is a problem when you're in a class, because obviously you're paying to be creative, and if your brain is not feeling creative, it's an issue. But at least now with the online things, you can watch it back when you're feeling a bit more creative, so it's not a frustrated lesson as much. Is it looking better now, Sarah? A little bit? How long did it take you to do that lovely one that you posted the other day? Oh, that's good. Well done. I think it is difficult, isn't it? I'm very impatient as an artist, well, as a person in general. I'm just very impatient, and waiting for things to dry is one of the big things I hate. That's why we've got so many hairdryers in the classroom, because I just imagine that everybody is the same as me, and it's sort of like that frustration of just wanting to move forward a little bit, and that. Yes, exactly. You do. You go home. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why we've always strived in the same way to have classes, so you come, you sit, you do a lesson, you go home with a picture. And it may not be the best picture in the world, but you've got the option, as you just said, to adapt it, or to add to it, or paint over it, or try again. Um, so you've got that accomplishment, whereas otherwise you could be faffing away for hours and hours and hours at home, or days, and still not really be happy with what you've created. Because I know that's, I've always tried to work in harmony with the mill, because the mill are often, it's 10-week courses, isn't it, Sarah? So that's why ours, we don't do lengthy courses, specifically to be more harmonious with what the mill offers. Um, and that's why all of ours are sort of standalone. I don't think I can do much more to this, to be honest, without just randomly just dabbing pink or purple blobs. That's too yellow. I really look forward to. I do love seeing what you've posted. I don't always respond in time, because a lot of the time, by the time you've posted it, I might be in another class when it pops up. But I do go through them all, and then because I eventually add them all to the right topic, so they're all under student artwork or whatever it is. And it's nice to see, because I think that's the one thing about the real life classes that are good, isn't it? Is that you know, when we reveal what you've all been painting, and the support that you get, and these are lovely supportive class groups as well. Even online, everybody's so like, wow, I really like that. Oh, I'll have a look. I'll have a look in 1 second. But hopefully you can see, by adding more of the dots and dashes. Oh, that's nice, Nick. Yeah, that's nice. Almost looks like you framed it there with your table. Oh, is that the floor? I actually, when I take a lot of photos of the stock, it's using the floorboards for our online stuff. Yeah. Maybe it needs some fresh eyes afterwards, you know what I mean? Looking at it in a couple of hours or something. Okay. It is difficult because there's a lot of colour in this, and it can get muddy very, very quickly. Yeah, you see, mine is really dry, So it might just mean that if you wait a bit of a while for it to dry, or make your dots and dashes thicker, because thinner, sorry, the thinner paint sticks to thick paint really well, whereas thick paint won't stick to thin paint. So either make your paint really, really runny like ink and it will sit on the top, or wait for it to dry and then put it on. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to do any more to this, and it's quite nice. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave mine for today now. So thanks so much for everybody joining in. It's always lovely to have your company. An interesting one. So next, oh no, where's my booklet gone? Jackie's nicked it. Hang on, I think we're still in June next week. So next week is watercolour, and we're painting the season. So we're painting summer. We're doing a summer scene in watercolour, so that'll be nice bright colours, really good chance to get some nice vibrant shaded foliage and that kind of thing. So that's next Thursday morning, so it'd be lovely to see you there. So thank you so much everybody for your company. Apologies for the late start and the constant interruptions today, but I really can't help them from time to time until everything's more back to normal. It's a little bit tricky. But thank you for sticking with me, and I look forward to seeing what you've posted. So thank you very much. Take care, and I will see you all soon. Bye bye. Bye bye.